So the spectator or the viewer doesn't have a sort of an active role in arriving at a meaning of what the artwork says. It is through the artist, and the artist becomes the main focus more than the artwork itself to understand the art. So art gallery. So we are expected to see something. What does the artist say becomes an important issue. Then if we think if we are free to exercise our free will to contemplate on my own to arrive at a meaning of the artwork is a questionable uh, premise. So we thought of moving out of that framework of gallery into the public space. So the public space we chose was a very challenging public space. If anyone who has come to Sri Lanka will know, if you say Borella Junction, everyone will hate because it's so crowded, so busy, it's so congested, but not like Bangalore. It's much less than that. But anyway, in Sri Lankan sense, it is one of the main road which leads to main road leading to Jaffna, Batikalo, Kandy, even the airport pass through that road. So that is the junction we thought. So there are 5 important roads merging on that. All are main roads. So if you take at a less traffic time, this is how it looks like. So it's not that bad. For your experience, it will be a negligible traffic. This is the aerial view of the, if you don't believe the diagram, this is the aerial view of the Borella junction. So it's a very busy junction. So that is the junction we chose for our performance practices. So what does this public space mean to us? So the artist does his artwork on the public space. So the passers-by will be confronted with this something happening, right? So that creates a impulse in the viewer to think about what it means. And sometimes they come and ask. Sometimes they ask the people who are around. So there is no restriction or no compulsion of meaning making like for spectator. Spectator is independent. There are no tags attached. The performer doesn't carry a placard saying this is the title or this is the meaning. Like, and most of the time in performance art, as we experienced it, the performer himself doesn't have a full understanding and the full meaning of what he is going to do and how it's going to evolve. Like, because performance art, when you start, you have a concept, but it is an evolving process with the interaction of the spectator. It evolves, and the environment, it evolves. So making meaning of such a performance is left to our imagination, the spectator's imagination, and also the experience of the spectator. So this is what means when Jacques Rancière says emancipated spectator. So this is a very important aesthetic philosophic theory which has not been taken very seriously so far, where Jacques Rancière says that the spectator should be independent to approach the art apart from the artist. So the spectator's experience, spectator already has some experience and already has some learning. So based on that, the spectator builds his meaning of the art. That's in a nutshell what Jacques Rancière says. So he says the network of propositions that place a question on the spectator at the heart of the relation between politics and art. So emancipation is the blurring of boundaries between those who act and those who look, between individuals and members of the collective body. An emancipated community is a community of narrators and translators. So the viewer, the spectator, is free to narrate what is going on between the art piece and him, and also free to translate it into his own experience and fix it through his experience. So viewing alone is a political event. Like spectator has a standpoint, an artist has a standpoint, but the narration is between the creation, the artist piece, and the spectator. It is not between the artist and the spectator. Therefore, a spectator may also take on the role of an actor, interpreting what is visible with regard to other elements, seeing, feeling, understanding, maybe the surroundings, uh, as much as the artist. Thus, the passive spectator is not a perpetual passive condition, it's an active condition. In Ronsi's view, participation occurs when the spectator interprets the visual. Being a spectator is not some passive condition that we should transform into activity. It is our normal situation. We also learn and teach, act and know as spectators who are the time link what we see to what we have seen and said, done and dreamt. So it is the spectator's experience and knowledge that is very important in completion of this aesthetic narrative experience. So what is perceived as art is defined by individual opinion. Its message is interpreted differently depending on both artists and the spectators based on who they are, their life experience, and so on. So this is the relationship that we found very interesting because, for example, a friend of mine, a performance artist, Bandhu Manamperi, carried a big fish, about 4 feet fish, not live, dead fish, throughout the road in the busy town. Then the people look at it and see that whether he's gone off his head or what it is like. But there were people who questioned that. Why are you taking this? And there were interpretations from the spectators. They say, yes, we are killing fish and we are eating fish, so we shouldn't do that, and things like that. So that's how the interaction take place. So in what we do in our performance practices, we have usually the international, it's an international performance activity we have for 3 days. We have it once in 3 years. So what we do is we invite international artists. Last time we invited only about 15, but previous year we invited 25 international artists. Plus local artists, it will be more than 50 artists. So what we have is, first day we have an exhibition where the performance artists display their works, and we have a sort of formal exhibition within the gallery space. Then we have workshops for students and who the young artists who want to become performance artists. We have workshop for in the mornings of the first day, second day, and third day also. Then we have public seminars, mainly just before the starting or on the date of starting. We have public seminar where we invite people and we discuss about various issues, artist presentation, and things like that. Then every day after the performance, we have discussion and the party. So it continues. The discussion mainly continues after the. So even whenever possible, we have a discussion before the performance also to clarify our thoughts and share it with other artists and exchange experience. Then the public performance starts. So this is the poster of our first performance activity in 2015. You can see Pushpamala being crushed by and Smitha is trying to stand somewhere. So this is the first performance platform we had in 2015. So this is the exhibition. You can see Rani Rekha is also there, and Jitin is there, and this is how it happens. Then the workshop here, Smitha is doing a workshop for young artists. So this workshop creates artists, and you won't believe anybody who is coming from Sri Lanka as performance artists anywhere in the world would have gone through this workshop at least once. So you can see the workshop. We usually have a lot of artists coming from Bangalore because we had a long-term connection with Vanshanti Road. So with various projects. So from that time, we have been sort of, it was easy for us to get Bangalore artists, and also Bangalore artists are good people to work with and friendly characters. So some Delhi artists are difficult to work with. I don't want to mention names. So these are the students' performance. The students also, we put them on the road. In the morning, they will have the workshop. Same evening, if somebody is prepared and who the trainer is confident that so and such a person can do performance, we put them to perform. This is on the street. Even the participants in the workshop are sort of doing perform. So this is the seminar where we sort of discuss, and fairly a good turnover used to be there, like about at least about 50 people used to come. So of the performance, when we talk about the performance, the first one is GT in here with a Pakistani lady trying to make relationships, but she went to America. The second one, this is a coffin, actual coffin. So he was sitting on the coffin and he got into the coffin also. This is a market. This building is a market. So in front of the market, so you can see all people gathering. So this is Priyanti, one of the leading. Uh, she has no limit, so she is there. So this we also have these musical musicians coming and presenting their creative work, mainly creative music. This is Isuru. Is one of the leading sound artists. So he was doing some experimental work. So we have a diverse type of participation. You can see even our performance extend into the buses also. This is a poet who recited her poetry inside the bus. So that also happens. So here the fish which I was talking about. So here myself, and this is the artist from Australia, and this is the artist, another artist from Pakistan. They had a very interesting encounter because they were wearing this halo around their heads, and I will come to that in a little while. So apart from that, we have this is one of the leading musicians in Sri Lanka who came, and he was performing, and there was a shower with water falling on him. He was continuing to perform. You can see Mamta Sagar here with her students doing a poetry performance. So we have diverse type of activities going on in the poetry. This Jagat Manuvarna. He is a deputy minister now. So he was also in the workshop with us. So you see, this is Lakni. She is in Sweden now doing a PhD. So we have a diverse activity. It is our belief that performance is one of the field. Performance art is one of the art forms which can merge any type of art or literary activities into it. Like so, the performance is if you see the history of performance, the word performance, unless a art or a literary activity is performative in its character, it doesn't evolve into art. So that is the basic foundation. The present concept about art is based on that performativity of the product. So in that sense, whatever is performative will become a piece of art, and in effect, anything that is performative will be a performance, partly at least a performance art. So performance art has a very powerful background and has a very powerful potential to become one of the leading art forms and one of the leading philosophies in the future. So this is video performance, not video performance, this is actual performance I did. It's a nude performance against the camouflage background, because camouflage, in my personal opinion, no government or no power can exist without a military power. So military and the police and the people use violence legitimately against their opponents. So that is the government. So to reflect that opinion only, I perform this. This is Janani Kure. She has done a lot of work with the hair, because hair in our culture, hair is regarded as sort of females, one of the signature things. So there, she uses hair in various forms of her performances. So this is again my performance. This again GT trying to do a haircut in a butcher's shop. So there were a lot of issues about this, because GT wanted to play some sounds, pornographic sounds in these things, and then the butcher said, no, no, you can't play it here. Then he put a earphone and played it into a ear. So this is another interesting. We have in Sri Lanka, the Sinhalese, the traditional sari is called the osari. Osari means it like your saris, it is in the same, but they wear it in a different way. So this, she created this osari with this tin sheet and also this barbed wire. And she wore that and she was walking on the road. This is another artist who was sort of walking and eating on the street, because in Sri Lanka people usually don't eat on the street unless you don't have a place to eat. Unlike the West or the even other countries, Sri Lanka people don't eat on the street, but they will use the street as a toilet. That's a different issue, but they don't eat. Here here there is another artist who thought this was a short skirt which will sort of attract men, and she was walking around on the street, and there are a lot of comments. And this is a interesting Indian artist, Raghuvadia. He came and sat on a middle in this junction. In the middle of the junction there is a small island. He sat on it in the chair, and he didn't sleep for 2 days, and he came and slept for there for hours and hours, and ultimately he appeared in the news also. So the news said that there is an Indian national who didn't have a place to sleep, so he's sleeping on the road. So interesting things happen. So last time, when we not last time, it was in 2020 when we had this 2019 when we had this performance platform. There was a Canadian artist who came, and he was bare bodied in the sense he removed his shirt and he poured some red ink and he was performing on the road. You won't believe that somebody has informed the ambulance, and ambulance came to take him. They thought he was injured, and he was there. Like, so interesting things happens, and the people's concern about everything is. So public space. So what do we know about public space? We talk about public space as if it is no one's space. You can go and you can do anything. It's not like that. Public space is a contested space. It is a very sensitive space if you really think about it. Yeah. So when you come to the public space, there are issues that it is not a democratic space. It is not a democratic space as we think. The gallery may be a democratic space, but public space is not a democratic space. It's a very sensitive space. If you say something against the religion or the culture, or even the slightest hint that it is commenting on the culture, there will be a whole lot of reaction. Reaction starts as a chain reaction. One person will come in a motorbike and start to say something, and 10 people will gather. And ultimately it will lead to assault also. So the public space is a very contested space, very sensitive space. We must be aware of that when we are working in public spaces. It is a culturally coded space. So there are streets where there are majority Hindus or majority Muslims. So there are cultural norms that can take place within that street. If you go slightly beyond, for example, we did a performance in one of the Muslim areas. So one artist used a condom, not just to blow it up. Then there was a huge protest from the community saying that you can't do, our children are being spoiled and things like that. So even that the sensitivity will be to that extent. So we must be aware of all these things when we do public space. it is defined by sensitivity of the people who use it. So the public space is defined by the sensitivity of the people who use it and the majority people who are living in that. So then we come to that the previous slide which I showed, the Australian artist and this uh, Pakistani artists were wearing halos. So they were wearing halos and they were going around. So we also didn't realize that they went and there is a underground tunnel to go to the other road, because it's such a busy road. There are underground tunnels. I think in Sri Lanka that's the only place that has underground tunnels. So they went through the underground tunnel and they emerged in front of a Buddhist temple. They didn't know. We also didn't realize. When they appeared over the street near the temple, there was a huge uh, uh, problem, because the priest himself protested, saying that they are trying to imitate Lord Buddha, and people gathered and they went to the police. Then it was a major problem, so I had to go. Then we usually have a sort of, we don't get permissions in a big way, because permissions, as in India, permissions will come after the event is over, or even the denial will come after the event is over. So what we do is we have a big party for the police before we start this program. So, and we invite the people in the other shops and places to come, and so then they are friendly with us. Then what they say, tell us what they advise. Then there was an issue about one Pakistani artist came, and in that building I showed you, it's a marketplace. So in the middle of the market, she used that blue powder, neem, Neil powder. That's not in a small pack. It's in a big pack, about 10 kilos. She came and she spread it all over the floor. Then the uh, market people protested. Then the police came and told us, you tell that you are getting permission, and we will also tell them that they are getting permission, and by the time that performance is over, it will be forgotten. So that is the way we use the public space. So police will tell us what to do, then we will work along with them. By the time the thing boils up, the performance is also over. So do we need ethics? It's a big question, because in all other disciplines we say you need ethics. In medicine, in a big way, we need ethics. So artists, is there ethics for artists? Do we need ethics? I think we need, because anyway we are interpreting human feelings and human conditions through our art. So we need to be sensitive to other people's feelings and not to hurt them. For example, you see Immersion, the Peace Christ, which is a photograph of 1987, where the cross was put into the urine and was exhibited. And it became a big sensation. But luckily, it took place inside a gallery, so that it was not a major issue. But do we need ethics? Then another example. This is the and Ajitin also created a problem by going and sitting in front of a Buddhist temple and doing his puja there. That luckily it was about 5 a.m., so no one was awake. But anyway, who was awake created problem. So then also the that sort of sensitivity is there. These are the two people who went and stood in front of the temple. Then we have recently a friend of mine is a leading artist in Sri Lanka, did this work where this is a terracotta piece which is mounted, and this writing comes from the parents of the victims of this war, or victims in the sense they are the disappeared. They disappeared at the end of the war and they never appeared. They were regarded as killed during the war. Most of them were non-combatants. So what he did was he took a translator and interviewed those men and women and wrote their experience and made it into a permanent this thing. So I had a problem. I said, because the problem is with the interaction, because the affected community is a Tamil community. The artist himself is a singular artist. So when you go there, there is a relational problem. When you come from a majority community and the government community that is backed by the government, then the people, the victims, thinks that they are going to get some sort of a consolation or some sort of a relief for their problems, like. But it is not that. So then when they go and talk in Sinhala, they are bound to answer because of the surroundings, police is there and all those things. This was done during a protest. So in that sense, I said it is not ethical for you to take somebody else's feeling and make it an artwork and sell it. So it is not your primary experience, and also it is someone else's sorrow. So is it ethical? So we need to ask this question about ethics in art, especially in public space performance, and we need to be sensitive. To my knowledge, there is no code of ethics for art practice, even literature, creative work. But I think in the future it will become a problem. So, apart from these things, during our practices, one of the most important question we encountered was, what is performance art and how does it differ from day-to-day performance? Because this question came into prominence with the publication of a book called Day-to-Day Performance by I forgot his name. Yeah, it's a famous sociology professor from America who published that book called Day-to-Day Performance. So where he said, like Shakespeare said, world is a stage, we are all performers. He said that what we do day to day is a performance. But I have presented two papers and published one paper regarding this issue, because day to day performance is a socially constructed, takes place in a socially societal enclave with the cultural force. Culture means there will be hierarchy, and that performance is based on identity creation and maintenance. For example, if I am a father, if I go to my house, I will behave like a father and the child will behave like a child. That is a performance, but that is to maintain my identity. If I go to a hospital, I will behave like a doctor and the nurses will behave like nurses, because that is a cultural setting where you have to perform in a certain way to maintain your identity. So day-to-day performance is coupled up with identity, and it is a method to consolidate your identity. Whereas in performance art, is the meaning making in performance art is essentially besides identity. Identity may be involved, but it is not the essence of performance. It is not essential for performance. Whereas day-to-day performance, identity is essential to establish your place in that hierarchy. So that is just the thought I had, because yesterday this question was there. And it is very important to understand. If you go to America or in places where performance art is well developed, if you raise this question, they will virtually laugh at you, because they are all very, very clear. Because I raised this question with Hector, and he was very furious for that, because I said we day to day we perform, like, and after that only I started studying and researching, and so this is all I had to say. If you have any questions or any comments, any clarity. Yeah.
Lived together for a year. Uh, yeah. So this artist, they were. in the same room tight, they cannot detach themselves, so they were doing a durational performance for almost an year, and then they got detached. So this kind of performance, they stage it, but it
Yeah,
is like day to day living, but
yeah,
they were together for a whole year.
yeah. The point is,
Yeah.
the point is that it becomes a performance art because that's an artificial type of tying and the relationship. Even the two people who did performance together in England, who George and they were also together. They go to breakfast at a particular time together. They wear the same suit and go to the, so that element is performance. But what they do, going to the toilet, is not performance. But the act of them being tied together and being, that's how I see it. Like,
Yeah, but I'm really happy that you gave a wonderful presentation, and I think this part was missing from the whole session. This was required. Why public performances and what happens, and you really opened up several layers of it, and I'm really happy that you brought
thank
it in this presentation.
I just wanted to mention also Marina Abramovic and Ule,
you. Yeah.
they did a performance of being tied together.
Yeah.
This is, I think, way back in 80s.
But they were able to untie at the end.
Yeah, I think,
Their performance, the coming together was a unique performance when she did it in Tate. She didn't expect Tule to come, but he saw that notice and came. And that moment, you must see the video. I have seen that video, it's in the YouTube. That moment, Marina's face, you can see the sort of real expression.
That's really a very insightful presentation. So I have something to say. You were talking about artist and the spectator
Yeah,
and
yeah.
artist. So do you think artist also, the performance artist also a spectator?
Yes, yes, definitely. Because one thing is that when other artists perform, you are a spectator, and you yourself is as a part of a spectatorship you have. That's why you are able to modify your performance as it goes. Like you see a situation, then you modify your performance. That you are seeing, you are viewing your performance and you are modifying. It evolves, it doesn't end. There is no end product. It is a process and it is evolves. Where your first presentation, where your first performance will have some connectivity to the other performance, and you learn from that. Being a spectator, you see what you do. And
Yeah, when a spectator become a part of the performance
yeah, yeah.
artist work, and how do you see that?
Yeah, no, the thing is, when the spectators are there, we definitely get a feedback in the sense from facial expression, whether they say something. That will definitely sort of in the meaning making in performance art is complete when the spectator participate in the process. If the spectator is just looking at you and waiting, it's maybe it doesn't like you. That's a different issue. But the process is complete when the spectator reacts and sort of the meaning making is complete when the spectator participates in mentally or physically or whatever. For example, we had one artist from that lady who came from Greece. She is a well-known photographer internationally. She came for a performance, and what she does is she makes natural dye and make prints then and there. So she went to the bus stand and she started cutting her material, the vegetables and things like that. Then a beggar was there. He also came and sat and cut with her like. So in the process, when we looked at it, the participation only made a sort of a full meaning like there. Then she squeezed that and took the juice and made his image first. So those type of interactions we can't predict, and that evolves. Like then she was also very emotional when she hugged that man at the end, and when 10 years. Fenia. Yeah. Yeah. That Dimple is one of the persons who have come there and done good works. So she knows our situation. The getting permission is a very tricky thing, because I think the best approach is first to speak to the police and see whether it is needed performance. Most of the time they say, no, you do, we will see if there is any problems. They are usually friendly. They are not so friendly, you know how to make them friends. Thank you.
Uh, Thank you for the very interesting presentation, and also to see all Sri Lankan artists performing, and our own Bangaloreans
Yeah.
performing in Sri Lanka. Um, Actually, it's always a question, like, like when a live artist or performance artist perform in a closed space, and when they perform in a space where they have expected audience,
Okay.
like, the audience, I
Galleries.
mean, whom
Yeah.
know, like, they already know, and they know what to expect, and also the audience also know how to behave with the performance. And there's another stage where the artists perform or performance in the public space, and it's a, as you said, it's like extremely sensitive space,
Yeah.
because you never know, it might turn
Yeah.
into a very pleasant, or it might be like sometimes very violent. Sometimes it's like, it's not that you're in control of a lot of
Mm.
things there. In that situation, like, artists need to be like kind of
Yeah.
ready for every reaction there, actually. So how does, like, I mean, it's open to most of these artists, like, how
Yeah.
does they really before going to a public space, how do they kind of evolve the space, I mean, like, a kind of uh, I mean, like, their behavior and other things. Is there a way, I mean, they kind of look into the situation first, or is it a very sensitive area, or is it religious, or, that
Yeah.
kind of situation, and also kind of adopt themselves into that whole situation?
Yeah, usually what we
Because,
do is when foreign artist comes, they usually don't know the environment, where they don't know where the temples and where the things are. So we explain to them, these are the sensitivity issues. These are the places where if you do something different, you will be sort of not be welcome there and things like that. We generally explain. But the other issue is the artist needs to be a bit sensitive in that halo thing. They didn't know that that road will emerge on the temple. Like we also didn't realize that when they went in, and when they came up to the road, it was a temple. So that was it's a mere accident. It was not a anticipated thing. So that sort of a thing is there. Then the other thing is there are we were doing these type of works when the political situation was very volatile also, and certain type of things we prevent going to the public road. We use our gallery space to, for example, foreign artist came and she wanted to do a nude performance, so there is no way that you can do it in the public road. So she was confined to the gallery. So that's how we handle. We see the type of performance they are going to do, and we sort of advise them and we discuss with them. And when I went to this place, Chicago, about 2 years back, I wanted to wear a military uniform and walk on the road. Then there was a huge protest from Canadian artist who came, she said, you can't do that because Chicago, they will come and shoot you and then only ask what happened. So, so I said, I am a performance artist. I have decided, so I will do it and we'll see. So it went on without any problem. Because so the sensitivity is best obtained from the hosts. You must ask them what and what can be done, what and what can't be done in the public space, especially roads. Most of the most of the artists, I'm not blaming or complaining. Most of the artists use open space as public space. In Chicago, they said public space performance. They do it in the beach, on the beach. It's hardly anybody else, only the artist. So I said, no, I'm not doing that. We'll do it on the street. So, public space, what is public space? Whether it's a private space, whether it is a public space where the public is there. If public is not there, it's not a public space.
And also, it differs from different countries, right?
Yeah,
What's
countries.
public space? And even for if you are doing something in Switzerland, you have to take permission for each and everything. Even to put a flower, you have to put
Okay.
something there. So it's
Yeah.
always tricky. And also at the same time, I think performance in the public, it's not completely kind of artists have 100% freedom.
Mm.
Like in case if you are in trance and if you really want to be very creative, I think that's not the space,
Yeah.
the complete space for an artist. I think maybe it's a closed space, or the space where you already know the
Another, yeah.
audience, like who they react. I think there at least to some extent, I think there could be more
Yeah,
kind of
we
freedom.
in our space, of course, we have a gallery space also, and we have a small lane there, and then only that open lane in the sense about 200 yards lane, and that opens onto the main road. So we select people to do within the gallery space, and we give the option to the artist. They can do it in the lane if it is sort of very extensive work, or where you have to lay down a lot of things and things like that. We do it on the lane. But if it is artists alone, then we do it on the street.
Okay. Okay. So in the context of subcontinent, you take Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, Pakistan, India. If you are going on the road and there are two people and one is having a camera, it already attracts a lot of crowd. Now it is changing because YouTubers have come in and all those things. But earlier, if somebody is doing something and somebody is having a camera, the first thing is maybe something is getting recorded. People come with that psyche also. Then the most important part is people around you. If I'm going as an artist and I'm doing something, and especially in Sri Lanka or somewhere else, if I'm doing it in Bangladesh or some, you need to have a local volunteer who can have a transactional
Yeah,
conversation with people. So
that's
let's say when I did that in front of the temple, that was 4 a.m. So I had one or two people as the volunteers who were going and telling people what is happening and all those things. That helps. That is very important. And then the the thing that you said, that artist has to be sensitive, because when I was doing the butcher market thing, when they came and told me that it's over, our business is going down. It was around after 2.5 hours. They said our business is going down. Can you end it? So I chose to end it. If I take the liberty of I am an artist, I will keep continue doing it. I'm going to get trashed.
He was also half naked there, so
No, I was actually full naked. That thing got down. But yeah, so that is very sensitive thing. What you can take from that space, you will have to have a kind of eye
dialogue.
contact
Yeah.
or dialogue with the local people there also, and then try to sort of go into it rather than push ourselves as an artist that we are intellectual and trying to go in. Yes.
So in context of women, it becomes very vulnerable because in Calcutta, it was in a heavy crowded area. I performed in Neemtala Ghat, which is always crowded um, and like there were like 50, 60 people around, and the performance was applying turmeric on my face. So you are so vulnerable because you're allowing people to touch you. And then, I started feeling very uncomfortable because I had a very bad touch and all that. So, but then artists understood that, and then they were like guarding some. But you put yourself into that kind of situation, and it is really little not so comfortable situation, and you will be not aware like who is what, because you're just placing in a public spot.
I had a very interesting experience also at Borello Junction at one time when I was carrying about 8 chairs and my face was covered with wool, like the twine, and a ball of Red Bull. So putting the Red Bull in my mouth stated that I was not going to talk. So I took various positions at different places and then finally settled at Borello Junction. And I was sitting there in silence. And there were people coming and asking me, "What are you doing?" And of course, I was not talking because that's what I decided. And there was this one point when this lady came and she kept asking me many questions. And I kept quiet and she was asking me questions in Sinhalese. And she got very annoyed with me and she said, "I'm sure you're the person who's responsible for the war. You're responsible that you're doing black magic from our country." And she literally had her hand near my face. And it was quite interesting. I wanted to know whether she would really slap me. And also, when I do performances in public spaces, I'm very much prepared. And in real life, I'm not prepared. Uh, I sort of I'm very cautious. But in performance, I think we're very prepared mentally to take any kind of risk and go ahead in public spaces.
Yeah, its mental preparation is important. In public space performance, you will have to be resilient and sort of be able to face certain reactions. So that's why we invite people like Smitha with ability to withstand things. She has done street performance on the street, and we have had feedback saying, "Well, what is that white lady doing there? She is sitting and she is a foreigner. Why is she coming and sitting here?" And things like that. People wish. Yeah, yeah, space. Yeah. Especially when they identify it as a foreigner, then they are worried. What is the purpose and what? They always think the negative.
Hello. So you were talking about these policies also, that Indian rules and regulation. See, when this performance art has a kind of activism or a protest form, so we don't get a permission.
Yeah.
When you don't get a permission, say if you want to do some protest, so in advance you have to get a permission.
Mm-hmm.
So if I want to protest against you, you should give a permission to me.
You
Otherwise I can't.
protest. Yeah,
Otherwise
you
I
can
can't
protest.
You can't do perform. So if you want
Yeah.
to do it, you should do it. That's all.
Yeah. Now you will have to take some risk, calculated risk. Otherwise, you can't do performance. It's difficult.
So answering to that, when you said permission has to be taken, in Cubbon Park, we have done from 2018, we have been doing performances without taking any permission. We had an issue when I had invited Roko Yuhas and Nancy Lou. Nancy Lou was doing a performance which was on demonetization. They came in that year and they had trouble. And what happened was Clyde, who was taking photo, one of the public asked him, what is going on. He got irritated because his photography was disturbed and he snapped at him. That ticked him off, the public. And he went, got the police. By then, fortunately, we all had finished our performance, but the police came and they were like, please, finish it and leave. They want trouble. We don't want trouble. It's a Sunday. Please don't spoil our Sunday. You also be happy. We'll also be happy. But in Cubbon Park, when we've done performances, we've not taken permission at all from 2018. I'm not saying that's the way to go, but it's possible if you know how to deal with the public, talking to them nicely, and the people around when somebody is doing that also works.
Should I repeat it again? One of my performances, I hung up myself with the earth mover, and I started from Nice Road entrance to PS College. So I can't get permission for that. But
Yeah.
no one has stopped. I crossed one signal also. So that kind of loopholes we
Yeah.
can utilize it. If the police stopped, then that's all. That also become a part of my work of art. That's all.
Yeah, yeah.
Like
But the people will become
people
familiar
get
and
used to
then
it. It becomes a part of the culture,
yeah.
and then they know that okay, this time is coming,
Yeah.
this season is
In
coming, and
Borella
start.
Junction, that happened. Now, when we walk around that place, they will ask, then Karan, and then whether you are going to do that again. Like, so people are aware of something is going on.
Consti in Cubbon Park, one of the times we were doing performance and the security had an issue. He was doing some performance with turmeric and an egg and all. That guy got unnerved. He came and he started telling, leave, leave, leave. And we said we were trying to avoid it. Then he went and got some other higher up. The higher up came and saw this fellow, and he was dressed in kurta and glasses and all. Sudden like a dawn, okay. That guy comes and he's like, "Sir, Rian, sir." It's more like, he was so respectful of this
Yeah.
guy. So, and the look itself
But
just,
with a look,
yeah.
yeah. That's why we
Like,
invite him at
finish
Sri
it, you
Lanka.
can go. This is last year.
Yeah, yeah.
That's it.
With the black glasses, you look like a politician.
So in another performance project which I did in Baswangudi, where Jutin and Monica both participated, we were stopped when one of the student was performing, making footprints on the, and we had to stop. And also Smitha came, and we went to BBMP office, and we sorted for half an hour. Everything was closed, but then we again started our performance. So we need to negotiate. Although I had taken permission from 4 police station, one commissioner, one BBMP, then again this we face problems. So it's always there, you have to deal with it.
Okay, well, I think the time is also up. Thank
Thank you
you
so
for
much.
your praise and
Thank you so much, sir, for your insights. We'll have a tea break for 20 minutes, then we'll resume at 4 p.m. Thank you so much.